This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. World Emoji Day is coming up, and we wouldn't be ITL if we didn't do something to celebrate it. I mean, we've been talking about emojis since the early days of this show. As the digital lingua franca takes over all aspects of our lives, they have also started to appear in court cases around the world. So in this episode, we're going to dive into emoji law. We sat down with one of the leading and only emoji law experts, Eric Goldman, to walk us through how it's seen in the US court system today.
The first time that emoji was referenced in the court opinion was 2014, so less than a decade ago. So unsurprisingly, we're still not in the thousands of cases that reference it. We're only still at about 200 for 2022.
Eric has been tracking every time the word emoji or emoticon comes up in a court case so he can measure how many times they're referenced from year to year. Going back to 2021, there were more than 160, which is a 23% increase from the year before, and that growth has been consistent. In case you need a breakdown on the lingo, emoticons are often faces that can be made with the characters on the keyboards, and they were the main form of communication back when we only had T9, or the text that was laid out on 9 different keys. But since then, emojis have sort of taken over. While most of us use emojis to joke around in texts when they appear in court, it's often for some pretty serious crimes. The most common emoji case involves sexual predation of children. Other common ones include murder, discrimination, and harassment. Emojis can even be used as slang that signals criminal activity. In sex trafficking cases, people might use emojis like high heels, money with wings, and the crown. For drug cases, there's a number of different emojis that can be used to symbolize different drugs. Interpreting slang in a legal context isn't new, but emojis add another layer of complication, especially when it comes to breaking down their meanings.
The most unusual thing about emojis is the fact that they can look different on different platforms. So if I'm using Apple and my recipient's using an Android, we might be communicating with each other using what seems to be the same emoji symbol, but it might look different on our platforms. And we might see different things that have legal significance.
If you're an iPhone user, you probably know the connotation that comes with the eggplant and peach emojis. If you don't, I'll let you Google that yourself. The thing is, they are often interpreted differently when seen on an Android. Goldman says lawyers and judges need to look at these cases like there's multiple versions of the emoji and not just one. Take this fire emoji, for example. If you were to Google fire emoji meaning, multiple autofill suggestions come up, including fire emoji meaning from a guy, fire emoji meaning Snapchat, and fire emoji meaning Instagram. So the platform and sometimes even the sender really does matter. Emojis also change over time. Apple and Android have updated theirs routinely. A draft of 31 new emojis was just released, and they will be finalized in September. So in court, legal experts have to make sure that emojis presented match up with the version from the year they were used. This was relevant in one case where a woman claimed her employer sexually harassed her.
She introduced some evidence, a chat log of evidence that suggested that in fact the employer had engaged in sexual harassment of her. But what was interesting is then the defense lawyer said, "What device did you have this chat log on?" And she said it was on the Apple 5. And then they looked at the emoji that was depicted in this chat log, and it was an emoji version that was only available on the Apple 12 or later.
Ultimately, the court ruled that the chat was fabricated. In another case, a teen girl was having a fight with her mom, and the court was trying to determine if it was a threat to commit violence.
The prosecutors come in and try to prosecute the teenage girl for her behavior, including the fact that she had threatened her mom. And the chat string, when the teenage girl was venting, included several emojis. And the court said, hold on a sec. This is not an actual threat where this girl is going to go out and kill her mom. This is someone blowing off steam.
Goldman says it's important for legal experts to understand that emojis have the potential to completely change the meaning of text, but that doesn't mean we should be afraid to use them.
My advice, my recommendation is use your emojis, enjoy them. Understand that there might be times people read them differently than you meant. That's just part of human communication.
Back in the early days of email, you might have been told a smiling emoticon isn't appropriate, but now experts say they can help build relationships with colleagues. Newsy correspondent Casey Mendoza spoke with a few of those experts about the way emojis are being used by working folk today.
BTW, lollipop, snowman, toilet, mailbox.
G plus fireworks emoji plus a double dose of train emojis.
A box with a question mark. What does that mean? It means you don't have emojis on your phone.
Emojis are fixtures in text messages and social media. Researchers at Emojipedia say 1 in 5 tweets now includes an emoji. And every day, an estimated 5 billion emojis are sent on Facebook Messenger. But what about at work? Emojis are fun, but is it professional to send a smiley face or a poop emoji?
Emojis are more suited for text and chat messaging. However, it's important to consider the audience and the reach of the message. So is the message internal or external? Is it formal or informal?
A 2021 survey from the market insight company Clutch found that 77% of respondents used emojis at work, typically to chat with their colleagues in a more conversational rather than serious tone and express emotions virtually. A lot of that emoji use was driven by the growing popularity of remote work, as well as the rise of Gen Z and millennials in the workplace.
And with more millennials now advancing to leadership positions, in some organizations, there's been quite a culture shift, if you will, where it's more normal and acceptable to communicate more informally and include things like emojis, GIFs, and memes.
Digital messaging platforms like Slack and Microsoft Teams, which have emojis built right in, are also driving the use of emojis at work. But experts say that can oftentimes result in miscommunications. Take, for example, the skull emoji. It's literally a skull, but according to experts at Emojipedia, it's also become a shorthand for dying from laughter. Similarly, the eyes emoji can have several meanings. It can say, "I'm looking at this now," or it can be used to point out the hidden meaning of something, or it can also express suspicion. Context is key, but so is making sure the person you're talking to has the same understanding of emoji slang.
It's hard to really say how everyone feels collectively about the use of emojis because you have so many people who have so many vastly different experiences that impact their view and their perspective around using these things in professional communication.
Experts note that as much as digital messaging has changed, the rules of professional communications haven't. So keep that in mind before hitting send for an emoji-filled message. Casey Mendoza, Newsy.